I've always wanted to be an artist ever since I was a kid, but strangely, I never felt like I found my voice. And it just was actually such a point of pain for me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out, take teeny little increments every single day. I paint 25 minutes a day. And almost like it came to me this 5-step framework plan that I would do every day. Sometimes it seems like we get some kind of barrier in life so that we figure it out and then we can share it with other people. It's linked to Searchie so that they immediately have access to all 4 of them. Like it's very streamlined. That's exactly what I wanted. That was like really life-changing for me. And then I became a full-time artist. And I was like, I can't believe my life. Get it done. Just get something out there. Anything you feel is important. Follow those like intuitive impulses.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Searchie Spotlight. I am thrilled today to be joined by my good friend, Kristy. How's it going today, Kristy?
It's so good. I'm so glad to be here, Paulina.
Well, I'm so glad that, you agreed to do this interview. Just before we got started, we were already chatting about, some of the awesome things that you're doing in the online space with your art. So we could start this interview with you telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you serve as well.
Well, I'm a full-time artist. I've always wanted to be an artist ever since I was a kid, but when I was a kid, I was told that that wasn't really an option. So I went into animation first and then found my way in through the back door, I like to say, into just showing in galleries, and I started to make a living that way. Eventually, I went to art school, got my MFA and my BFA. And I've just been like pursuing, painting, and then teaching just evolved naturally. I just really enjoyed the stuff that I was learning. And so I started to kind of teach some of that type of stuff back in my hometown, bringing like the stuff that I was learning, say, in New York or overseas back to my hometown and to Ottawa. I serve people that are basically like I was, just really eager to learn more about painting and just like fascinated, like transfixed as they kind of learn some of the techniques that I now teach.
That's amazing. And I want to go back to something you were saying there at the end in terms of technique, because one thing that we see in the online space is the internet is so new that a lot of what's available now wasn't possible even 10 years ago. The things that we're super passionate about, we're still kind of told that, there's no future in that, or it's not the path. But realistically, what we're seeing is that the internet is actually surprisingly opening up a lot of opportunities for people in ways that they didn't even know was possible in terms of how they can channel, their passions and what they're passionate about online. The second piece of that is kind of going back to what you were saying in terms of technique, because everyone is different in terms of their artistic style and in terms of their approach to teaching and sharing their craft. And I wanted to ask you specifically about your artistic style and how you found your voice and your approach to art. And I mean, you have the lovely piece of art behind you as well that I think serves as an awesome visual, but I'd love to learn just a little bit more about kind of how you found, yourself in terms of the space for you as an artist.
Yeah, this is actually something that I'm so passionate about, probably because it was actually so hard for me for some reason. I always wanted to be an artist ever since I was a kid, as I mentioned. And then I started to take classes. Technically, I could pick things up, and it was so exciting for me, so satisfying. And then I became a full-time artist like at 24. And I was like, I can't believe my life. I'm actually doing it. And then I went and got my BFA and my MFA. But strangely, I never felt like I found my voice. And I saw other people around me find their voice and like rise to art fame or something. And I was definitely learning a lot, but I never really felt like I found my voice. And it just was actually such a point of pain for me. I felt like such a failure, like I had done everything that there is out there and I couldn't seem to find my voice. And here it is. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do was be an artist. So it was actually like this moment of just a total depression. I just felt at a complete loss. And it was in one of these moments, it honestly felt like it came to me magically, but for some strange reason, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And almost like it came to me, this 5-step framework I wrote down. I called it my daily miracle actions list, a plan that I would do every day, and I put it beside my bed and made sure for every single day that I did all of these things, like doing intuitive paintings a day, doing thumbnails a day. doing morning pages a day, all these various things that somehow I just knew would actually help me find my voice. And so that was like really life-changing for me. Oh, and the other most important one of all was to paint 25 minutes a day. Really bare minimum, little teeny little steps, that I could just take teeny little increments every single day. I was also totally blocked as an artist at the time. So doing 25 minutes a day was a lot, if you can believe it. But it pulled me out of my block and helped me find my voice. And then what's interesting about this is now that's actually what I'm teaching on my Searchie Hub. That's why I actually reached out to you. I developed a program teaching other artists how to find their voice using the same 5-step framework. And I'm writing a book about it now. Sometimes it seems like we get some kind of barrier in life so that we figure it out and then we can share it with other people.
I love that. And I love especially how it seems like it really came full circle where you're taking exactly what you learned and found within yourself and sharing that with other people so that they can find it with themselves as well. And I think that it's amazing that you were able to find your voice. And not only that, but that you have a really simple but effective way to also maintain, that voice and the craft in terms of committing to 25 minutes, as you were saying, a day of painting.
Totally. It still helps me. There's so many things to do, as it turns out, as an artist. There's actually very little artists that have that much time to paint or draw or whatever their medium is. Almost none of them, have a lot of time. So weeks can go by without doing anything if you're not kind of doing some teeny little doable tidbit every day. And it's amazing what you can get done with like just teeny little increments every single day.
What would you say, helps you on your days where maybe you don't feel like painting, or as you're saying, a lot of artists can't find the time? The reason I'm asking that is we work with a lot of content creators who are really scared of taking the first step. And sometimes they hide behind learning where, they're convinced that they have to learn all the perfect, techniques before they start applying it. And what it really ends up doing is it ends up paralyzing a lot of people from taking action. And I think that this is true, especially in the creative space, but it's true in virtually every industry, especially online specifically. And you find yourself in a position where, weeks have gone by and you haven't committed yourself to the craft. So have you found any specific tips and tricks that have really helped you commit to, your challenge of making sure that you do commit, at least 25 minutes every single day?
Really, it is the 25 minutes, which is the tool. So with this painting behind me, it was actually a painting that I couldn't do when I started it. Like it was actually beyond me to accomplish such a thing. And if you look at it, it's very complicated. It's also like a 5-foot by 9-foot painting. When I would look at the whole thing, it would be like, well, this is hopeless. There's no way. What I learned, it was actually on this very painting behind me that I learned the 25, that I developed the 25-minute a day framework, where all I would need to do is just turn on a podcast or something like that, sit in front of my easel and paint like a flower for 25 minutes. And I didn't know every element of the painting. Like there's this mystical creature behind me here. I had no idea what I was going to do with him, but I might know what to do on a flower, or I might know, okay, I think I can paint the sun. So I would just every day do 25 minutes, no matter what. Even on a day that I moved, I did 25 minutes because you develop the habit too. But there would always be something that I did know what to do, on the painting for 25 minutes each day. And then what I discovered is that also left room for epiphanies to occur, where suddenly I would get an idea and I'd be like, I think I know what to do with this weird mystical creature. Let's try that. It gave room for the painting to kind of evolve, kind of intuitively, like in my mind in the areas there was questions. But the more you stay engaged in it, the more you get these kind of epiphanies. So I used to think that I needed to be inspired to paint, but then I never painted, But it turns out I needed to be painting to be inspired. So it's not like I'm painting in a state of inspiration all the time, but if I paint every day for 25 minutes, then the inspiration flows, and then I get the ideas that are kind of even more exciting, and I can do the mundane grunt work, which there's a lot of it, for 25 minutes, like every day. And I do little things like I'm an oil painter, so I put my palette all made up in the freezer every day I don't even wash my brushes. I stick it all in the freezer every night, pull it out so it's all ready to go. And I can just immediately start painting for 25 minutes and stick it all back in the freezer. So there's no big setup. It's not like a big production. So those are kind of the tips that I discovered for myself. But I think everyone has to figure out how to make it work for them. But the most important thing is to do it every day for 25 minutes.
That's incredible. And I'm stuck on what you said there in terms of the inspiration, because I feel like a lot of people do feel like, they're not inspired enough to, dive into that. But it's so true that when you sometimes even force yourself to just go into that space to start creating, that it naturally leads to more ideas, more inspiration, and more creation as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that specifically because, you found your voice, but as we've been talking about, there's also the act of maintaining your voice. And that can definitely be a challenge when you introduce an online aspect to your business. So, what have you done specifically? And maybe it is that 25 minutes, but what have you done specifically to make sure that you're still carving out space to be creative when you're also running an online business? Because sometimes with an online business, especially as you're getting started, you can get really overwhelmed by all of the tech processes and learning all the different tools. And it means that you're really, fiddling with the tech. And every time you fiddle with the tech, it means that it's less, time and space for you to be creative. So how do you manage, that online aspect of your business while still finding time to create?
Yeah, I mean, for me, they work hand in hand. Definitely the 25 minutes a day is the thing that keeps me always painting and keeps me moving forward with my paintings. But also the interesting thing is, like I mentioned, I started to teach this framework in my Visionary Artist Master Program, which the hub is on Searchie, and it looks so cute. I love it there. Everyone's so happy with it. And so I was teaching the framework, and a lot of the time it's like the case where you learn it and then you teach it, but then you're learning by teaching it. So as I would be teaching now and going deeper into these tools, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I should remember to do that in my practice. I forgot about that. And so then I kind of go back into my own practice. And one of the tools is doing intuitive paintings, where I have a YouTube video about it if anyone wants to check it out, but where you kind of just follow your very first impulse and then your next impulse, the very first thought that comes to mind, and you let go entirely about it, making it look good. This painting behind me actually came out of doing an intuitive painting initially, where the idea came to me in this intuitive way, and then I fleshed it out into the larger painting. But I hadn't done intuitive paintings for like, I don't know, a year or something like that. And then I taught about it in the class and I was like, oh, I forgot about that. That's a good idea. And, I started doing them again. So it kind of revitalizes your practice. It keeps you kind of like, yeah, just pushing yourself further as well. The other thing is I actually really liked, it's creative for me to be designing my online courses, and like we worked together designing my hub on Searchie, and that was really fun for me. And it's dreaming. It's all dreaming. Making a painting is dreaming, and building an online course and having a vision of my online courses on a cute little hub that people find really fun to use. It's all dreaming. I don't know, it's creative too. And so it still is kind of like using a similar part of the brain. It's still fun for me. And I guess the other thing is that the more that I have dreams about the vision that I want to be as an artist, whether it's showing in galleries or developing a more efficient system for my online courses or whatever, giving me something to work towards as an artist. And that helps like fuel my paintings as well.
That's incredible. And I think you mentioned something there, Kristy, that I think is, very important to us, especially at Searchie, which is, the platform reflecting the creativity that people want to pour into it. I know that you do release a lot of free micro training as well. You have a pretty big following on Instagram where you're constantly posting, tons of tips and tricks, how to recreate specific colors. I did see the freezer hack in there as well. So really phenomenal free content. But I know that you also, as you mentioned, do deliver paid content as well. And we talked a little bit about how that paid content is delivered on Searchie. So what specifically has, having that paid content available for your students made possible for you?
It's made it way easier for the people that are using my program, that are enrolled in my programs. I keep saying it looks so cute, but it looks cute and fun, and it's easy to use. They love it, so they're like, oh, this is cute and fun. Like, so they sign up for one course and then they sign up for another. And actually, the way we've got it designed, there's a few tabs at the top. There's like a community tab, which links to a Facebook group so they can all like network there. And then there's a link to my podcast and a link to my blog. So various free content that I put out. And so it's kind of creating a whole community, a whole network. Like I had someone recently write to me, they were like, I joined it down to art. They can see it not just as like I signed up for one particular program, but as like I'm joining the whole, I don't even know what you would call it, the whole network of the whole, what do you even call that? There must be a word for that. The whole world that I'm creating.
Yeah, I mean, community is so much of it. And I feel like, especially when you look at art and other skills, like having, that collaboration, but also that support network, as you were kind of saying there, I think that would be the word, just a support network. But having that support network, I think, can make all the difference if someone really feels like they don't know how to continue, they don't know how to go on, to just kind of push them through that mindset block and continue, investing in their craft. And in this case, mastering specific art techniques or spatial features. I know you do a ton of awesome courses that focus on really specific elements that people can paint as well. So I know the importance, especially for a creative community, to have that space to feel like, this is their place, these are their people, and this is their opportunity to, keep each other accountable to make sure that they continue progressing in that craft.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I just thought of one other thing. It's also like I've got it linked to, it's a better system than I used to have when I had like WordPress and I was like manually emailing people, which is ridiculous. It's set up in such a way now that it gives me, I'm able to make if say people sign up for the mouth class, I have like an upsell, like would you like to also sign up for the features bundle, and they often do that. And then very easily it's linked to Searchie so that they immediately have access to all four of them. Like it's very streamlined. That's exactly what I wanted. That was the goal. Something streamlined where I'm not like manually emailing people anymore.
It can certainly, shave off time that you're no longer spending, sending people the link. And I know that it can make a massive difference. And I think that, you hit on a theme there where I think a lot of building an online business is finding those opportunities to keep things simple and keep it streamlined, because it means that, you're giving yourself time back in your day, but it also means that you're getting the content to your students much faster as well.
Totally. Yeah, because they kind of want instant access. They want it to be like they hit the button and they're like, oh my gosh, here we go. And that's what it's like now. Yeah.
So this has been incredible. And I wanted to wrap up this interview, Kristy, with one last question. And that is for your advice to any artists or any creatives who are looking to dip their feet into entrepreneurship, preferably, online entrepreneurship, because that's where a lot of entrepreneurship is now. But what would you say to anyone who is just getting started, or who is just thinking about, taking their art to a new dimension and a new level, and kind of embracing that, step into entrepreneurship?
Yes, I would say just kind of get it done. Like do it kind of imperfectly at first. Just get something out there, like, and then you can start to refine it for the rest of your life. But just get something out there as soon as possible. Obviously, try to make it good and kind of take a little bit of time with it, but not too much time because you're not ever going to be totally happy with it. Yeah, like the first time I ever made something, it was definitely not as good, but I could have sat with it forever. You know what I mean? You could tweak it forever and ever, and it's way better to get it out there and then just start like refining your process, and you'll get better at making videos. But actually, the first one I put out is still available. It wasn't that bad.
There you go. And I think that's really, the secret here, where it's like you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. Everyone has something valuable to put out there, and it's just a matter of, kind of going through that first step quickly so that you can continue, improving and refining exactly what it is that you offer. So this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much, Kristy. And I'll pass it to you for any final words to wrap us up for this interview.
Well, I guess I always really love the idea, like, don't draw it back from anything you feel is important. So if you're feeling like pulled to do something, like, yeah, just kind of follow those like intuitive impulses.
I
Yeah.
love it. So cheers to, following those impulses, and thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much, Paulina.